We have three recognition segments tonight. The first is brought to us by the esteemed Keeling Curve Prize. Please welcome the Executive Director, Jacquelyn Francis.
So what are we here for today? Optimism? The future? How about what is possible right now? And better yet, where do we fit into the picture? Recently, I saw something that said, historically, pandemics have forced humans to break with the past and imagine their world anew. Are we ready to break with our fossil fuel-powered past? I think so. I'm Jackie Francis of the Keeling Curve Prize, and I believe the puzzle pieces are in our hands now. We just have to put them together. Today, we'll be sharing our KCP story, chatting with a few past winners, and announcing the 2020 Keeling Curve Prize finalists. So let's run our video.
At a point in history where there seems to be an overabundance of bad news, the Keeling Curve Prize is here to offer some good news. First off, though, who and what is the Keeling Curve Prize? We are the flagship program of the Global Warming Mitigation Project, established to protect our atmosphere in order to ensure vibrancy for all life on Earth. Backed by a dream team of scientists, communicators, and analysts, we spotlight and help accelerate climate solutions from all over the world. We do this by awarding projects and programs at a yearly ceremony where winners receive funding and increased visibility. The good news is that in our endeavors, we have come across an abundance of programs and projects that are truly working. Our optimistic outlook has been bolstered by these individuals and organizations who are paving the way toward a brighter future. We are extremely excited about this year's awards. The 5 categories, each from which 2 finalists will be selected as winners, include Capture and Utilization, Energy, Finance, Social and Cultural Pathways, as well as Transport and Mobility. The finalists from the Capture and Utilization category are advancing strategies for capturing heat-trapping gases from the air or oceans. They bring these strategies to the forefront of the marketplace and offer methods for verification. Energy finalists are leading the way in providing zero-emissions energy access worldwide, especially in areas that currently experience energy poverty. In the Finance category, finalists are creating and deploying financial mechanisms that consider ecological, atmospheric, and human wellness on equal footing with economic ideals. Finalists from the Social and Cultural Pathways category are changing the way people think about and act on human impact on this planet. What does it take socially and culturally to develop beyond fossil fuels? These projects are answering that question. And from the Transport and Mobility category, finalists are reimagining and reinventing a cleaner, more efficient travel experience. This year's international group of applicants ranges from meaningful individual efforts to innovative corporations. Choose a livable future. Be bold. Get involved. Act on climate. Whether it's planting a tree, achieving sustainable business models, or revolutionizing energy, we all can bend the Keeling Curve. The future is ours, and the future is now.
So joining me are 3 former KCP winners: Paige Atkinson of Our Climate, an activism organization focusing on carbon pricing; Holmes Hummel of Clean Energy Works, a financial and policy conduit for clean energy organizations; and Zach Plopper of Wild Coast. They focus on conserving coast and marine ecosystems with natural solutions. So let me start with you, Paige. What is it going to take to get a price on carbon in the United States?
Thanks, Jackie. It's great to be here with you and other Keeling Curve Prize folks. First, I just want to start by saying that's a question you could ask 10 different people and get 10 different answers for, so mine is definitely just one perspective. But at Our Climate, the question has been, how can we win a federal price on carbon that is grounded in science and achieves the emission reductions we need to avert catastrophic warming? And secondly, a policy that will take the revenue that's generated and invest in a clean energy transition that is just. And I think for myself and many young activists, it's hard to imagine a scenario in which we can get to that point where we have a policy that we feel good about supporting without electing lawmakers who are not beholden to fossil fuel industry interests. And it's worth noting this is not necessarily a partisan conversation. There are a lot of conservatives who have expressed support for putting a price on carbon. But what we found is that both sides of the spectrum, when you have lawmakers who are receiving money from the fossil fuel industry, they are not putting the interests of their constituents and the communities they represent over fossil fuel industry profits. And so for young people, we feel that the first step is working to elect people in November, not in a partisan way, but ensuring that climate is really on the ballot and a priority for the people that we put into elected office. After November, assuming we're successful in that, it's incredibly important to build a diverse coalition with faith communities, labor unions, young people, businesses, et cetera, to have the political will to pass meaningful climate policy. It's worth noting that I think a lot of that coalition building has already started to happen within the conversation around a Green New Deal. And I think a carbon price could play a really interesting role when the time comes, as far as figuring out how to incentivize emission reductions across the economy, and again, generate revenue to achieve the goals of a Green New Deal. So there's a lot of work underway, and certainly there's a ton of work that young people are needing to do to ensure that there is that opportunity on the federal level to pass comprehensive climate legislation that includes a price on carbon.
Oh, yeah, a challenge. So, Zach, why do we need conservation and why mangroves?
Thanks, Jackie. And it's a pleasure to have the opportunity to share with you this afternoon and evening. So Wild Coast is an international team that conserves coastal marine ecosystems and it addresses climate change through natural solutions. We're a team of 22 in California and Mexico. And since 2000, we've been focused on protecting and conserving the mangrove forests of northwest Mexico, what are called a blue carbon ecosystem. So they exist in this aquatic terrestrial interface that makes them very unique. And subsequently, they sequester and store more atmospheric carbon than any other ecosystem on the planet. In fact, the desert mangroves of northwest Mexico, where we're working, sequester 5 times more carbon than forests on land and store 50 times more carbon in the soil that surrounds them. Now, unfortunately, they're disappearing at an alarming rate around the world. And in some countries, they're disappearing faster than tropical rainforests because of illegal deforestation and degradation. And this converts a carbon or a mangrove forest from a carbon sink into a carbon emitter. So their protection and restoration is critical in the combat against climate change. And this is exactly what Wild Coast is working on. We're working with the Mexican national government to establish legal protections for unprotected mangroves. In the 38,000 acres where we're working, by protecting that, we could avoid the emissions of 20 million metric tons of carbon that's stored there. And our field team in Mexico is working directly with local communities to restore and reforest degraded mangrove habitat. And this is my favorite part of our project, is working directly with fishing families and ranching families to be a part of a natural climate solution, to be a part of a natural solution to the impacts of climate change, and planting seedlings throughout Northwest Mexico. In 2019, we launched our 1 million mangrove campaign to work with these communities to scale up this effort and plant 1 million seedlings across the Mexican Pacific coast. And you can learn more about that at our website at wildcoast.org.
Thanks for the work you do, Zach. So, Holmes, how can more people gain access to clean energy solutions so we can achieve a level of scale that could actually bend the Keeling curve?
Wow, that is a big question. And it's humbling to be in the company of other Keeling Curve Prize winners who've accepted the challenge of thinking about how the Keeling curve and its trace of carbon dioxide in our atmosphere not just levels out, but actually declines. In order to achieve that kind of future, we'll need 100% clean energy in the energy sector, which is the largest source of climate affecting pollution. And we'll also need 100% of the people to be able to access that 100% clean energy future. That's where Clean Energy Works is really motivated to address barriers to participation that have affected the pace at which we can get more energy efficiency and renewable energy into the economy. Solutions like efficient lighting, efficient heat pumps, electric vehicles, and even rooftop solar have all been coming down in cost in dramatic ways over the last decade. But still, every one of them has an upfront cost requirement that prevents many people from participating, and we'll never be able to get to 100% clean energy if we're not thinking about including 100% of the people who would need to access it. Clean Energy Works has found that working with utilities, we can offer a solution that eliminates the upfront cost barrier by allowing them to capitalize all of the upgrades at a home or a business that would be cost effective, including the battery on board the EV or the bus, the charging station, the on-roof solar or energy efficiency, and that altogether the utility can recover its costs by making site-specific investments with site-specific cost recovery. That's a breakthrough that's getting us very excited about the clean energy future.
I really love the idea of just being able to turn on your lights and getting it from clean power and not having to worry about, anything else. So one of the big challenges we all face is going up against the powers that be, the incumbent energy infrastructure. So very, very quickly, how do you inspire and activate change? Let's start with Paige.
So our climate works with young people, and I think there are two things. One is ensuring that we're connecting our actions with impact. So whether they're organizing a youth lobby day or connecting with their lawmaker directly or creating a big art installation, showing that it actually is making a difference is hugely important. And secondly, making everything we do fun and ensuring that we're building community. I think many of us come to this work with a desire to make the world a better place and we care about the issue. And the reason we stay in this work is because we make friends doing it and find that the work is really meaningful and bringing creativity and positive energy to our lives. So those are the two things I'd share as far as what at least inspires me and has inspired many of the young leaders we work with.
And just a quick shout out to Paige, who's having a baby. She also inspires future generations. All right, what about you, Zach? What inspires you?
Well, my children, first off, but secondly, we're going to see an aggressive restart to the global economy after this COVID-19 crisis. And we need to take this time to get ahead of environmental rollbacks, not just here in the United States, but really at an international scale. We also should take this time to reconsider our carbon footprint and our own consumption. And we need to encourage our decision makers to invest more in the conservation and protection of blue carbon ecosystems like mangroves, like seagrass, like salt marsh. And I think with that, we're going to find inspiration and we're going to really make an impact.
Jackie, your question about incumbents leads me to think about power and think about power in a different way than clean energy. At Clean Energy Works, we basically see that incumbents are a reflection of a power structure that has advantaged them in the face of changing demands. And not all of them will relinquish their positions of incumbency without a true challenge. Clean Energy Works works in alliance with a number of organizations that are very comfortable with thinking about how to change power structures and making changes at a system level so that we can change the terms on which everyone has access to what they need. In particular, access to energy, clean water, and clean air without having to rely or make a trade-off that turns out deadly for all of us in the long run.
So very true. So speaking of inspiration, what inspires me is not only our winners and our finalists, but all of our applicants. I read the application and I truly wish I could fund them all. There are farmers taking care of the land all over the world, innovators using brilliant technology for the greater good, and people caring through educating, creating, and mobilizing. To all of the 2020 applicants, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Your work is essential and very appreciated. I will continuously do my best to elevate your stories. Stay the course. Now I'll pass the envelope to the KCP Assistant Director, Ruth Metzel, to announce the finalists. Take it away, Ruth.
Sure thing. Thank you, Jackie. Wow, news sure travels fast from Aspen to Panama. I'm so excited to finally have these finalists in my hands. Can I get a virtual drum roll from the audience, please? Okay, and now, without further ado, the Keeling Curve Prize finalists for 2020 are in the category of Carbon Capture and Utilization, Borneo Nature Foundation, CarbFix, GHG SAT, and New Leaf Dynamic. In the category of Energy, Climatenza, Jaza Energy, Urja Development Solutions, and SkyCool. In Finance, Aligned Climate Capital, The Generation Forest, Nori, and Odyssey Energy Solutions. In Transport and Mobility, Auto Truck EA Limited, Bridges to Prosperity, EH Engineering Group, and EV Match. And in the Social and Cultural Pathways category, Citizens Climate, the Climate Museum, Dear Tomorrow, and Feedback. Please give a big virtual round of applause for all of our finalists. We invite you all to follow us at @KCurve Prize to learn more about them. For the news in June on which of these finalists will become our 2020 winners, and to learn more about our next Keeling Curve Prize round opening up in fall of this year.